The stranger in the crowd. It's a typical Monday morning in the heart of the city. Traffic lights flicker as cars honk impatiently. The sidewalks overflow with people heading to their jobs, coffee cups in hand, eyes glued to their phones. The rhythm of the city is fast, relentless, and full of noise. Walking briskly through the marble doors of a tall glass building is Michael Thompson, the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar tech firm. He wears a perfectly tailored gray suit and black designer shoes that shine like mirrors. Every step he takes echoes authority. Every word from his lips carries the weight of someone used to being obeyed. His voice cuts through the morning air as he barks orders into his phone. No, I don't care about his proposal. He's not worth our time. He laughs coldly, shaking his head. Some people think being passionate is enough. What a joke. He doesn't notice the people making way for him, not out of respect, but discomfort. His arrogance surrounds him like a shield, and no one dares get too close. As he steps out of the building, ready to enter his waiting car, he sees a man standing near the entrance. The man wears a worn-out jacket and faded jeans. His hair is unkempt, but his posture is calm. He doesn't hold a phone. He isn't rushing anywhere. He's just there. Michael looks at him briefly, then smirks. Can't even afford a decent coat, he mutters under his breath. The man hears it but says nothing. He simply gives Michael a slight nod, his eyes kind but unreadable. Michael pauses for a second. There's something familiar about the man's face, something he can't quite place. But the moment passes. He dismisses it and walks toward his car, already forgetting the man's existence. But the man doesn't forget him. Michael's day continues with back-to-back meetings. In one of the boardrooms, he gloats about acquiring a small but promising artificial intelligence startup. "We'll crush the competition," he says. "They won't even know what hit them." His team laughs along, but some of their eyes show concern. They've seen Michael change over the years. The man who once cared about innovation, about people, has turned into someone obsessed with dominance and power. During a lunch break, his assistant rushes in, handing him a sleek black briefcase. "The documents for the merger, sir," she says. "Good," Michael replies. "This is the final nail in the coffin for our rivals." He steps outside to make a few quick calls, pacing near the sidewalk. That's when he sees him again. The man from earlier. He's leaning against a light post, watching the traffic, looking completely at peace. Michael frowns. "Is he following me?" he whispers. Their eyes meet. This time, the stranger doesn't nod. He simply looks at Michael with a calm, steady gaze, and for a brief moment, Michael feels exposed. He quickly turns away. That night, Michael attends a high-profile gala for industry leaders. The event is filled with expensive dresses, fake smiles, and powerful connections. Michael thrives in this world. He networks like a machine, collecting handshakes and compliments. While sipping a glass of wine, he overhears two young entrepreneurs talking. "You know who I met yesterday?" one of them says. "Keanu Reeves." Michael's ears perk up. "Really? What was he like?" The other asks. "Quiet. Super humble. He was just walking through the park, feeding birds. I almost didn't recognize him." Michael stiffens. He remembers the man outside his building. "No way," he mutters. "That couldn't have been." His mind races. What would a Hollywood actor like Keanu Reeves be doing outside his office, dressed like that? He tries to shake off the thought. Must be a coincidence, he tells himself. But the seed of curiosity has been planted. A few days later, Michael's life starts to change, slowly at first. During a crucial investor call, he finds himself distracted, not by charts or questions, but by the memory of that calm, steady gaze. Later, in the elevator, he overhears two employees whispering. "The new policies are too harsh," one says. "Yeah, ever since Michael changed, it's been all about numbers. No heart left." He wants to yell at them. He wants to remind them who pays their salaries. But instead, he stands in silence. For the first time in years, their words sting. He goes home that night to his penthouse apartment, a vast space of glass, chrome, and silence. There's no one waiting for him. No laughter. No warmth. He pours himself a drink and sits by the window. Then he does something he hasn't done in years. He thinks. The next morning, Michael wakes up early. He doesn't know why. Something inside him tells him to walk. No driver, no car, just him and the morning air. He heads toward the park near his building. And there he is. The same man, sitting on a bench, feeding crumbs to a group of pigeons. Michael hesitates. He walks closer. "Excuse me," he says. "Are you KeanuReeves?" The man smiles softly. "That depends. Do you want me to be?" Michael is caught off guard. "I don't understand." "Then sit," Keanu says, patting the empty space beside him. "Let's talk." Michael sits, unsure of himself for the first time in a long while. "You look like a man who has everything," Keanu says, tossing a crumb. "Money, power, respect, but not peace." Michael scoffs. "Peace is overrated." Keanu chuckles. "Is it?" A long pause follows. "Why were you outside my office?" Michael asks. "I was passing by," Keanu says, "but you seemed loud, like your soul was shouting." Michael frowns. "You don't even know me." "Maybe not, but I've seen that look before. I've worn it myself." Michael looks away, his voice lower now. "You don't know what it's like to carry everything on your shoulders." "You're right," Keanu says. "But I know what it's like to feel empty even when the world sees you as full." They sit in silence. The city noise continues around them, but in that moment, it fades. "What are you trying to do?" Michael asks. "Fix me." Keanu shakes his head. "No, just remind you of who you were before the suits and the pride." Michael doesn't reply. His mind is racing. Memories of his younger days, his first startup, his dreams, his friends, begin to surface. "I used to love building things," he says quietly. "Now I just destroy what others build." "Then maybe it's time to rebuild," Keanu says. "Not your company, yourself." As the sun rises higher, Michael stands up. He looks down at Keanu. "Why are you doing this?" Keanu stands too. "Because someone once did it for me." Michael nods slowly. "Will I see you again?" "Maybe," Keanu replies. "But the real question is, will you see yourself again?" With that, Keanu walks away. Michael watches him disappear into the crowd. He doesn't know it yet, but this moment, quiet, simple, strange, will become the turning point of his entire life. The mirror never lies. Michael Thompson had everything. Or so he thought. After that quiet morning in the park with Keanu Reeves, something began to shift inside him. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was more like a whisper in the back of his mind, gentle but constant, reminding him of a question he had long forgotten to ask himself. Who am I, really? His apartment that night felt different. It was the same space. Polished marble floors, walls lined with abstract art, designer furniture untouched by wear. But somehow, it felt colder than usual. He walked to the massive mirror in the hallway. It stretched from floor to ceiling, a perfect reflection of everything on the outside. A powerful man in a tailored suit, well-groomed, confident, clean-shaven, the image of success. But when he stared into his own eyes, he saw something else. Tiredness, regret, and a strange sense of loneliness. The mirror never lies, and tonight it showed him the truth. He poured himself a glass of water and sat down on the couch. The city lights sparkled beyond the glass walls, but inside, the silence felt heavier than ever. He reached for the remote but paused. No TV, no music, just stillness. His thoughts returned to Keanu. Not the Hollywood star, but the man on the bench. Simple, calm, patient, not chasing the world, just present in it. Why did it bother Michael so much? Because deep down, he invited. The next morning, Michael arrived at the office earlier than usual. People greeted him like always. Forced smiles, polite nods, quick glances, but he noticed something for the first time. They were afraid of him. Not respectful, not inspired. Afraid. As he entered the elevator, he caught a glimpse of his assistant, Emily. She looked exhausted, barely hiding the dark circles under her eyes. She fumbled with her tablet and dropped her stylus. Normally, Michael wouldn't even notice, but today, he bent down and picked it up. "Here," he said, handing it to her. Emily froze, then slowly took it from him. "Thank you, sir," she said quietly. Michael nodded and turned to face the elevator doors. Something about that simple exchange stayed with him all day. In the boardroom, the usual routine unfolded. Charts, profits, projections. But Michael couldn't focus. The numbers felt hollow. One of his senior managers, Raj, was giving a report. "We've cut 40% of the research staff since last quarter," Raj said proudly. "Productivity is up. Costs are down." The board clapped. Michael didn't. "What about morale?" Michael asked. Raj blinked. "Morale, sir?" "Yes," Michael said. "How are they doing? The people we kept?" Silence. No one had an answer. "I want a full report on employee well-being," Michael said. "And I want it by Friday." His team exchanged surprised glances. "Of course," Raj said slowly. After the meeting, Michael walked through the halls of his company. The same halls he passed every day for years. But today, he looked. He saw tired faces, quiet whispers, people avoiding eye contact. He remembered how excited he once was, walking into this place when it was still a small startup in a shared workspace. Back then, he knew everyone's name. Back then, he laughed, really laughed, with his team. They used to share pizza, pull all-nighters, dream about changing the world. Now, it was just business. And he hated it. During lunch, Michael didn't go to his private office. He went to the cafeteria. Heads turned. People froze. No one knew what to do. He walked to the counter and picked up a simple sandwich. Turkey and cheese. Nothing fancy. Then he sat at an empty table near the window. A few minutes later, a young intern, Clara, hesitantly approached. "Mind if I sit?" she asked nervously. Michael gestured to the seat. "Of course." She sat down, hands shaking slightly. "You're Clara, right?" he asked. "From marketing." Her eyes widened. "You know my name." He smiled. "I try." They talked for 15 minutes. Not about profits or presentations. About her dog, Max. About her dreams of starting her own eco-brand. About her grandmother, who raised her after her parents passed. And for the first time in years, Michael felt human. That evening, he returned to the park. He wasn't sure why. Maybe he hoped to see Keanu again. Maybe he just needed air. The bench was empty. He sat anyway. Pigeons pecked at crumbs around his feet. A child ran by, laughing, chased by her father. An old couple walked slowly past, holding hands. Michael watched it all. And then, a familiar voice spoke. "Looks like the suit fits a little differently today." He turned. Keanu was standing nearby, a quiet smile on his face. Michael chuckled softly. "Funny. I was thinking the same thing." Keanu sat beside him. They didn't talk right away. Just sat. Just watched. Then Michael spoke. "I've been running for so long," he said. "I didn't even realize I was tired." Keanu nodded. "That's how it goes. Until you stop. And then it all catches up." "Why did you talk to me?" Michael asked. "You didn't have to." "No," Keanu said. "But I saw something in you. Something I've seen before. In myself. Years ago." Michael looked at him. What was it? Pain. Hiding behind power. The wind rustled the trees. Keanu continued. I wasn't always like this. Calm. Grounded. I've lost people. I've made mistakes. I've let pain control me. But somewhere along the way, I realized we can either let pain build walls or bridges. What do you mean? You've built walls, Michael. Walls so tall, no one can reach you. Not even yourself. Michael didn't respond. But it's not too late, Keanu said softly. Not too late for what? To turn your pain into purpose. They sat until the sky turned golden. Michael stood. Thank you, he said. Keanu nodded. See you again, Michael asked. Maybe, Keanu said. But remember, this journey isn't about meeting me. It's about meeting yourself. That night, Michael did something he hadn't done in over a decade. He opened an old journal. On the first page were scribbles from a younger version of himself. Dreams. Goals. A quote that said, build something that matters, not just something that profits. His hand trembled. He picked up a pen. And he wrote one word. Begin. When the heart speaks louder than power. Michael Thompson sat alone in his office, long after the sun had set. The city below glittered like a field of stars, but the light inside him was just beginning to flicker back to life. His fingers hovered above the keyboard, his screen blank. He had opened a new document, one without numbers or graphs, without forecasts or deadlines. Just words. Honest words. He typed slowly. I don't know who I am anymore. He paused, stared at it, then kept writing. I thought success meant never stopping, never listening, never feeling. But maybe I was wrong. He saved the file and closed the laptop. This time, he didn't feel empty. He felt real. The next morning, something unexpected happened. He arrived at the office to find a small crowd gathered near the entrance. Employees, a few security guards, and even his assistant Emily stood in a circle around someone on the ground. What's going on? Michael asked, pushing through the crowd. There, lying on the sidewalk, was a golden retriever, fur dirty, ribs showing, one paw bent awkwardly. Beside the dog knelt a teenage boy, tears streaming down his face. He's my dog, the boy sobbed. His name is Rocky. We were looking for food. He got hit by a bike. Please, someone help him. People murmured, stepping back. No one knew what to do. Michael looked around. Did anyone call a vet? Silence. Call a vet, he ordered. Now. Emily pulled out her phone. The boy looked up at Michael, desperate. Please, don't let him die. Michael knelt beside the boy and placed a hand on his shoulder. He won't, he said softly. I promise. The dog was taken to a nearby clinic, and Michael insisted on going with them. He canceled all his meetings for the day. His team was stunned. But sir, the investor lunch. Reschedule it, he said. This is more important. In the waiting room, the boy sat quietly, eyes red. What's your name? Michael asked. Jay, the boy said. We live near the train tracks. It's just me and Rocky. I don't have anyone else. Michael's chest tightened. He remembered a time when he felt like that, when the world felt cold and distant, and the only warmth came from a dog named Milo. Milo had been his childhood companion, his secret keeper, the only one who stayed when everything else fell apart. The vet came out an hour later. He'll be okay, she said. His leg's fractured, but we can fix it. Jay cried with relief. Michael smiled. I'll cover the bill. Jay stared at him. Why? Because someone once helped me, Michael said. And now it's my turn. That evening, Michael walked back to the same park, the same bench. He half expected Keanu to be there, but it was empty. Still, he sat. He thought about Jay, about Rocky, about the way the boy clung to that dog like his whole world depended on him. And maybe it did. In a world so fast and ruthless, sometimes the smallest moments are what save us. Michael reached into his coat and pulled out his phone. He typed a message to Emily. Find out where Jay lives. I want to help him. Housing, education, whatever he needs." She replied instantly. "Are you sure, sir?" "Yes, I'm sure." The next morning, his office felt different. He greeted the receptionist by name. He held the elevator for a group of interns. He complimented Clara on her recent campaign idea, and she smiled for the rest of the day. During a team meeting, he said something no one expected. "I want to talk about values." The room went quiet. "Not company values," he continued. "Human ones. I've spent too long building walls. It's time to build bridges." People exchanged glances, unsure if it was real. But as Michael spoke, they began to believe him. A week later, Michael visited Jay's neighborhood. It was rough. Crumbling walls, trash-strewn alleys, broken streetlights. But there was joy too. Children laughing, neighbors helping each other, music playing from an open window. He found Jay sitting on a porch with Rocky, whose leg was now in a cast wrapped in colorful bandages. "You came back," Jay said, surprised. "I told you I would," Michael replied. They sat together, Rocky resting his head on Michael's lap. "Why are you doing all this?" Jay asked. Michael thought for a moment. "Because for the first time in a long time, I'm listening to my heart." Jay nodded like he understood. Later that night, Michael got a call from his board of directors. They weren't happy. "You missed 3 investor calls this week," one of them said. "We're concerned about your focus." "I'm more focused than ever," Michael said calmly. "You've changed, Michael." "Yes," he said, "and I'm not going back." He knew there would be consequences. Some might try to remove him. Some would call him weak. But for the first time in years, he didn't care. Because something stronger than pride was guiding him now. Purpose. A few days later, he returned to the park one more time. And this time, Keanu was waiting. "You're early," Michael said with a smile. "You're late," Keanu replied, grinning. They sat. "You look lighter," Keanu observed. "I feel lighter," Michael said, "but also heavier." "How so?" "I'm carrying something different now. Not ego. Not fear. Something else." "Responsibility?" Keanu asked. "Hope," Michael said. "For others. For myself." Keanu nodded. "That's the best kind of weight to carry." "I helped a boy this week. And a dog." "I know," Keanu said. Michael looked at him. "You do." "I keep track of the people I believe in," Keanu said with a wink. Michael laughed. They sat in silence for a while. "Thank you," Michael said finally. "For what?" "For showing up. For not giving up on a stranger in a suit." Keanu stood. "What exactly are you proposing?" one executive asked. "I want to start a foundation," Michael said. "Something that gives back. Education programs, community support, mentorship initiatives, something that matters." The room was silent. "But that's not our model," another executive said. "Our shareholders." "The shareholders will understand," Michael interrupted. "Because this isn't just about profits anymore. It's about purpose." Over the next few weeks, Michael worked tirelessly on the foundation. He partnered with schools, nonprofits, and local businesses. He reached out to people who shared his vision of creating a more compassionate, connected world. And slowly, his company began to transform. Employees who once felt overlooked and undervalued started to feel inspired. Morale improved. Productivity followed. Clients noticed the change in tone and began to support the company's new direction. Michael's days were busier than ever, but for the first time, they didn't feel empty. He still worked hard. He still faced challenges, but now, each day ended with the knowledge that he was building something meaningful. On a crisp autumn afternoon, Michael returned to the park. He wasn't sure if Keanu would be there. He hadn't seen him since that last conversation, but he went anyway. And sure enough, there he was, sitting on the bench, feeding the pigeons. Michael walked over and sat down. "It's been a while," Michael said. Keanu smiled. "You look different." I feel different. How's the company? Keanu asked. Better, Michael said. But more importantly, I'm better. Keanu nodded. That's what counts. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the world go by. Thank you, Michael said finally, for waking me up. You woke yourself up, Keanu said. I just handed you the alarm clock. The ripple effect. Michael Thompson sat at the head of the long boardroom table, a place where he had once reveled in power and control. But today, it felt different. His team surrounded him, their faces a mixture of curiosity and hesitation. For years, they'd known Michael as a man who spoke with sharp commands and clear-cut objectives. Now, his tone was gentler, his words slower, as if he was carefully choosing each one. I want to thank you all, he began, for your hard work, your patience, and your honesty. There was a pause, the room silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioning. This past year has been a turning point for me. I've had time to reflect on what we do here, on who we are, as a company and as individuals. And I've realized that we've been so focused on growing bigger, on becoming more powerful, that we've lost sight of why we started in the first place. He glanced around the room, meeting the eyes of his senior executives, his managers, and even a few interns who had been invited to sit in. One morning, Emily walked into his office holding a folder. What's this? Michael asked. Feedback from the team, she said. Anonymous, like you requested. Michael opened the folder and read the comments. It feels like we have a purpose again. I didn't think he cared, but I was wrong. It's still hard work, but now it feels worth it. He smiled. It wasn't a victory parade, but it was progress. One day, while visiting the newly established foundation office, Michael found himself in a small conference room with Clara, the young marketing intern he'd spoken with months earlier. I have an idea, Clara said nervously, sliding a piece of paper across the table. Michael picked it up. It was a proposal for a community outreach program. Free workshops on digital literacy for underprivileged teens. This is good, Michael said, nodding. Really good. You think so? Clara asked, her voice trembling. I do. Let's make it happen. She beamed, and for the first time, Michael realized just how much potential was sitting untapped in his company. As the foundation grew, Michael started receiving invitations to speak at events, not about business strategy, but about leadership, purpose, and compassion. At first, he was hesitant. He had never seen himself as a motivational speaker, but he knew that his story, the mistakes he made, the changes he embraced, could help others. So he said yes. At a packed auditorium, Michael stood at a simple podium. No flashy slides, no glossy brochures, just him, a microphone, and the truth. He told them about Claire, about Jay and Rocky, about Keanu. I used to think success was measured in numbers, he said, his voice steady. But the most valuable thing I've gained isn't wealth or power. It's the knowledge that what we do, how we treat each other, how we give back, that's what truly matters. The audience didn't erupt into cheers. Instead, they sat quietly, listening, reflecting. And that was all Michael wanted. Months later, Michael found himself at the park again. It had become his sanctuary, a place where he could breathe and think. The bench where he first met Keanu had a small plaque on it now, a gift from Michael to the city. For those who sit and listen. He sat down, watching pigeons flutter around, children laughing in the distance. His phone buzzed, and he glanced at it. Another speaking invitation. He put it back in his pocket without answering. For now, he just wanted to be present. As he leaned back, he thought about how far he had come. About the people who had touched his life. Claire, Jay, Keanu, even Emily, whose quiet dedication had kept him grounded during the hardest days. He wasn't a perfect man. He wasn't a saint. But he was trying. Every day, he was trying. And that was enough. The test of a lifetime. Michael Thompson was staring at the papers spread across his desk, his chest tight with indecision. The past few months had been a whirlwind of change. He had rebuilt his company's culture, established the foundation, and earned the respect of his employees in a way that felt genuine and lasting. He was finally starting to believe in his ability to lead with kindness and purpose. But this was different. A merger offer had landed on his desk the week before, from a powerful global conglomerate known for swallowing companies whole. The deal promised unimaginable financial rewards and access to international markets that could launch Michael's firm into an entirely new stratosphere of success. The catch: the conglomerate had a reputation for cutting jobs, outsourcing critical operations, and disregarding the human element in pursuit of profits. If Michael signed the deal, his shareholders would celebrate, his financial advisors would toast to his genius, and his name would appear on the cover of every business magazine. But the price would be high. Thousands of employees at his company and the startups they had invested in would be at risk. All the progress he had made in creating a compassionate, people-focused culture could unravel in an instant. Michael leaned back in his chair, hands clasped behind his head, staring at the ceiling. Was he really willing to sacrifice everything he had worked so hard to rebuild? That evening, Michael walked to the park. He didn't expect to see Keanu. The actor had a way of appearing when least expected and disappearing just as quietly. But he hoped the familiar bench and the soothing sounds of the city would help him think. He sat down, gazing at the pigeons pecking at crumbs on the pavement. Then a voice broke the silence. Heavy decision. Michael looked up. Keanu was standing nearby, his hands in his jacket pockets, a small smile on his face. "You could say that," Michael replied, surprised. Keanu sat down beside him. "Let me guess. It's about more than just numbers, isn't it?" Michael sighed. "It always is, isn't it? If you're thinking about it this much, it probably means you already know the right answer," Keanu said. "I don't know about that," Michael admitted. "The deal could mean so much for the company. It could open doors we never even dreamed of." "And close others," Keanu added. Michael nodded slowly. "That's what I'm afraid of. It's not just my decision. It affects thousands of people, their jobs, their families. But if I say no, I might be letting down everyone who's counting on us to grow." Keanu looked at him thoughtfully. "Sounds like you're caught between fear and purpose." "Fear and purpose," Michael repeated. "How do you choose?" Keanu smiled faintly. "I can't tell you that. But I can tell you one thing. When I'm unsure, I ask myself if I'll be proud of my choice in a year. In 5 years. In 10. Will it still feel right when I look back?" Michael didn't respond right away. He stared out at the park, lost in thought. "You're not alone in this," Keanu said softly. "You've built something special. You have people around you who share your vision. Maybe the answer isn't just yours to find." Michael turned to him. "What do you mean?" "Talk to them. Your team, your foundation leaders, the people you've helped. You trust them, don't you?" Michael hesitated, then nodded. "I do." "Then trust them now. Let them help you find the right path." The next morning, Michael called a meeting. It wasn't his usual executive meeting in the boardroom. This time, it included employees from every level, from senior managers to interns, from the foundation staff to the janitors who kept the office running. "I have a decision to make," Michael said, addressing the room. "A big one. And I need your help." There were murmurs of surprise. Michael had never been the type to ask for input. He had always been the one to give orders, to set the course. But now he was asking, genuinely asking, for their thoughts. "If we take this deal, it could mean huge financial gains, but it could also mean losing the culture we've worked so hard to build. It might mean layoffs, outsourcing, and a return to the kind of company we never wanted to be." He looked around the room, meeting as many eyes as he could. "What do you think we should do?" At first, no one spoke. Then Clara, the young marketing intern, raised her hand. "I think we should stick to our values," she said. "You told us that what matters most is how we treat people. If this deal means hurting them, then it's not worth it. Another voice chimed in. If we stay true to our mission, we can still grow. Maybe not as quickly, but in a way that lasts. Soon, more people joined the conversation, sharing ideas, concerns, and suggestions. Some argued for the deal, saying it could provide new opportunities. Others argued against it, saying it would cost them their identity. The discussion was passionate, honest, and for the first time in years, it felt like everyone's voice truly mattered. By the end of the meeting, Michael had heard from dozens of people. The decision wasn't made for him, but it was made clearer. That evening, Michael sat in his office, looking at the contract. He remembered Keanu's words, "Will it still feel right when I look back?" He thought about Claire, whose simple, purpose-driven life had inspired him to reevaluate his own. He thought about Jay and Rocky, and the power of small, meaningful acts of kindness. He thought about his employees, who had given their hearts to this company, trusting him to lead them with integrity. And he thought about the young Michael Thompson, the one who dreamed of building something that mattered. Slowly, he picked up a pen, and he signed a different kind of contract, one with himself, to stay true to his purpose. The next day, Michael announced his decision. The company would not pursue the merger. Instead, they would double down on the values that had brought them this far: compassion, community, and innovation with a human touch. Some investors grumbled. A few senior executives left. But the core of the company stayed strong, united by a shared belief in what they were building. And Michael, for the first time in years, he felt free. The legacy we leave behind. It had been 1 year since Michael Thompson chose a different path for his company. 1 year since he turned down the merger that would have made headlines, choosing instead to stay true to his values. 1 year since he asked his team, and himself, to focus not just on profits, but on purpose. And now, as he stood at the entrance of the company's annual gala, Michael felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: pride. This wasn't the pride of seeing his name on the cover of a magazine or being hailed as a business icon. It was the quiet pride of knowing that what they were building here mattered, that their work was touching lives in ways he never could have imagined. Inside, the atmosphere was warm and vibrant. Employees and their families mingled, smiling and laughing. The foundation team had set up a series of displays showcasing the projects they had funded: a rural school that now had computers and internet access, a community center that offered free childcare to single parents, a scholarship program that sent young people to college who never thought they'd have the chance. Michael moved through the room, stopping at each display, talking to the people behind the stories. A young woman approached him with a photo in her hand. "You don't know me," she said, "but you helped my little brother get the laptop he needed for his classes. He's doing so well now." "Thank you." Michael took the photo, his throat tightening. It was a simple picture: a boy sitting at a small kitchen table, smiling as he worked on a laptop. But to Michael, it was more valuable than any award he had ever received. "You're welcome," he said quietly. Later that evening, Michael stepped outside for some fresh air. The city lights sparkled in the distance, and he leaned against the railing, letting the cool breeze wash over him. "You've come a long way." The voice was familiar, calm, and unmistakable. Michael turned and saw Keanu standing a few feet away, his hands in his pockets. "You always show up at the right time," Michael said, smiling. "I try," Keanu replied, walking closer. "How does it feel, seeing what you've built?" "It feels real," Michael said. "For the first time, it feels real." Keanu nodded. "That's because it is. It's not about appearances anymore. It's about substance." Michael laughed softly. "You sound like you've done this before." "Not exactly," Keanu said, "but I've learned a thing or two along the way." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the lights of the city twinkle like stars. "What's next for you?" Keanu asked. Michael shrugged. "Just keep building. Keep helping. There's no finish line, is there?" "No," Keanu said. "But that's the beauty of it." Michael looked at him, a question forming in his mind. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Of course. Why did you talk to me that day? Why did you stop?" Keanu smiled, his gaze thoughtful. "Because I saw myself in you," he said, "the version of me I used to be, running on fumes, trying to prove something to the world, forgetting what really mattered. And I thought, maybe if I reached out, I could save you some of the pain I went through." Michael nodded slowly. "You did. More than you know." "I didn't save you," Keanu said. "You saved yourself. I just reminded you that you could." As the night went on, Michael returned inside, back to the celebration. But something had shifted. He felt lighter, more grounded. He no longer worried about the things he couldn't control. He focused instead on what he could give, on the legacy he could leave behind. The gala ended, and Michael stood at the door, shaking hands and thanking people as they left. When the room finally emptied, he stayed behind, walking among the displays one last time. He paused at the photo of the boy with the laptop, then turned to see Emily approaching. "You should go home, sir," she said. "It's late." "Just taking it all in," Michael replied. Emily smiled. "You've done something incredible here. We're all grateful for it." "I couldn't have done it alone," Michael said. "Thank you for staying by my side." Emily nodded, and for the first time, Michael felt the depth of her quiet dedication. She had been his anchor through it all, steady and reliable. "Good night, Emily," he said. "Good night, sir," she replied. As Michael walked out into the crisp night air, he glanced at the stars above. They had always been there, constant and unchanging, no matter how much his life had shifted. He thought about everything that had brought him to this moment. His friendship with Claire, his encounter with Jay and Rocky, and the simple, life-altering words of a stranger who had become a guide. He knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But he also knew that he had the tools to face them. A clear purpose, a supportive team, and a newfound understanding of what it meant to lead not just with strength, but with heart. And as he walked away from the gala, into the quiet streets, Michael Thompson carried with him not the weight of his old ambitions, but the lightness of a man who had finally found his way.